Don't you ever minimize yourself for somebody else because they're upset that you changed as a person. I changed. I grew. I became a different person, and there's nothing wrong with that. If I grew for the better, be happy for me. And if you're not happy for me, that's perfectly fine too. Nobody is obligated to make you feel proud or to make you feel happy for me. I'm happy for me. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Hood Soft Life podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina, and in this podcast, we talk about navigating the challenges that come with growing up in the hood and leaving those challenges behind for a soft life. Growing up in the hood comes with its own set of challenges, but what people don't tend to tell you is not only do those challenges follow you once you've made it out physically, but they tend to intensify. So I'm bringing you along on my journey. I'm going to be honest with you about the struggles and the lessons that I'm learning to achieve a soft life. In this episode, we're going to be talking about growing up guilt and why it feels so guilty to let some things go and to move on. So, let's get started. How is everybody doing this week? The holidays are right around the corner, so it's about that time. If you are going to visit some family, I'm wishing you some safe travels on your vacation or your time with your family. And even if you're not, if you are just going down the block, safe travels for you too. I just want to go ahead and preface that I think I'm coming down with a little something. It's the week before Christmas break. Everybody and their mom is getting sick at the school that I work at. And so I may need to pause and take a little drink of water. But other than that, I'm having a pretty good week. The end of last week was a little bit of a struggle to the end. I think these kids are just ready for Christmas break, and so am I. But I'm doing really well, and I'm really focused on my content. I have something coming out at the beginning of next year, end of this year. Still trying to decide, but I'm very, very excited about that. I've been hard at work, and some things changed in my life, and I'm going to go ahead and announce those towards the end of the year. But that's pretty much all I have for this week. So let's go ahead and talk about growing up guilt. What is that? I took a lot of notes because I think this is going to be a good one. And so I want to just go ahead and talk about what that means. Essentially, what that means is feeling guilty about the fact that you want to grow up and grow out of things, move on, and let some things go. It's not some fancy psychological term. It's not something that I Googled and found. It was really just about my own feelings and experiences. As somebody who grew up in the hood, and I still have a lot of family members that live there, I felt and still feel guilty about wanting more and about wanting differently, because I think a lot of times when you want something that people in your circle are unfamiliar with, they try to point out the fact that you are trying to be different, and they try to make you feel bad about that. And I don't know if it's because it's out of jealousy. I don't know if it's because they're just trying to protect you. Every case is different. But I feel like when we have a lot of those outside voices, it causes us to feel guilty. I feel like for me personally, there are 3 reasons why I feel guilty about wanting more and about wanting different from what I'm used to seeing. And the first one is outside voices, whether that's family members, whether that's past friends, whatever the case may be, just putting their input and 2 cents on what it is that I want in my life. That is something that has affected me and caused me to feel guilty for wanting something different and not following the status quo. The second thing is being told that my aspirations and my goals are stupid, or that they were dumb, or that they're 1 in a million, and so you should pursue something else. And I remember when I used to want to be a singer when I was a child, and I mean, I get it. Like it is hard to make it in the music industry, but to constantly hear like, oh, people don't make it in the music industry, and you need to choose something else, and you need to choose something else, whatever. That kind of makes you feel like smaller, and like you need to just go ahead and just change what it is that you want to do because a lot of people are telling you to. And so I feel like that's my experiences now, even with like going to college, moving out the state, doing something different. I get the same kind of feedback. And so that could be another thing of just like, if they don't get it, they don't want you to get it either, because they couldn't possibly imagine it for themselves, let alone somebody else, and they don't want you to achieve it. And again, that's for different reasons. Not everybody is a hater. Some people are just genuinely concerned and they don't realize that what they're spewing out is negative. And I think the last thing for me is simply just feeling guilty about leaving behind who I was and the experiences that I had and what I knew myself to be for so long and becoming somebody different. Especially with growing up in the hood, a lot of people try to make you feel bad for wanting different or for wanting to move out. And I'm not even gonna lie, I used to say some ignorant stuff too of just like, well, why would you want to move to the suburbs or da-da-da-da? But it's just like, now that I'm older and now that I'm starting to understand, like there are a lot of unhealthy things that you learn growing up in the hood, and you really need to leave some of those behind if you want to achieve what you want to, if you want to have a better life, if you want to go after your goals and aspirations. You can't hold on on to those lessons. And so I feel like I'm in this battle right now of this is who I used to be, and I used to be this person for so long, and I was so committed to being from this place and for repping this, that, and the third, but I'm older now. I'm 24, I'm not 14, and it's time to really like grow up and grow out of that and move out of that. And so I'm at a point now in my life where it's just like, okay, this is who I was, and this is what I know, and this is what I'm familiar with, and I will always be proud of where I'm from, even if it was a challenging upbringing and if it was a challenging childhood. The bottom line is like, without those experiences, I wouldn't be who I am today, and my story would be so boring. But at the same time, it's time to let some things go, and it's time to move on. So let's go ahead and talk about why we feel this way. I'm sure a lot of people feel guilty for wanting to pursue their dreams and their goals, and they're just not sure of like, can they do it? And they also feel guilty about leaving people behind, because that's the thing about it. I did not have this in my notes, but that is the thing about it too. Like, you cannot bring everybody wherever you're trying to go. And so leaving people behind can be a challenge because you grew up with these people. You've known these people your whole life. You're so invested in these people and the relationships that you have with them. You don't want to let them go. You don't want to leave anybody in the dust. And so that can also be a reason as to why you don't want to elevate, why you don't want to achieve the things that you want to, because you are afraid of leaving behind some relationships, and those will cost you the goals that you are trying to reach. So you have to go ahead and make a decision. Am I going to choose these relationships and sacrifice the home that I'm trying to buy, the state that I'm trying to move to, the education that I'm trying to get, the job that I want, whatever the case may be? Is that relationship worth the sacrifice in the end? Knowing full and well that this is truly what you want and you're truly ready to move into this next level and this next phase of who you are. You need to decide, is this person, are these people worth the compromise? Not even compromise. Are these people worth the sacrifice? Okay, so that wasn't even on my notes. That was just a quick little thought. But what I do have here, why we feel guilty about wanting to move on or level up. The first thing I have is past failures. We all have that one core memory that is still haunting our brain to this day. A failure that felt so hard and so embarrassing that you just cannot let it go. We've all been there. Trying to move on and do that thing again and feeling like you're ready for it. You may feel guilty or you may feel nervous about doing it because you've already made an attempt and it was a flop. What if I do it again and I fail, and then I'm just going to feel embarrassed and I'm going to feel guilty that I wasted this time, and whatever the case may be. I would put that more of like embarrassment and guilt, because you're worried about failing again. You're worried about wasting more time, but also you feel guilty about the fact that you tried in the first place because it ruined any opportunity for you to try again. If you have that mentality of like, I failed once, I can never do it again because I'm not automatically good at it, you're going to feel guilty about wasting the time. And I'm sure people have said it's like, oh, I should have never even did this in the first place if it was going to turn out like this. We've all been there at one point, and that's okay. But past failures are going to be something that keep you from growing up, keep you from achieving your goals, and they're going to make you feel guilty about the fact that you still haven't done the thing that you wanted to do, and that you just don't want to. You're not ready to pursue it because you've already failed. And I'm just worried that I'm going to fail again, and then I'm going to feel embarrassed, and I'm going to feel humiliated, and I'm going to waste my time. And that can be also what makes people feel guilty, is that they wasted time pursuing something and it failed again. Also, people look at failure as just like this horrible thing that I can't believe that I experienced that. That's so embarrassing. And instead of looking at it as an opportunity to try again and to try differently. For me, I feel like with my podcast, it's not necessarily that I failed at the podcast. Like, I'm still doing it and I'm still, getting listeners and I'm still getting views. So that's not the issue. But I feel like I failed at my goal of being consistent, because I started back in this previous January and I wasn't consistent, and I took a lot of time off, and I was nervous about this, that, and a third. So I feel like I failed at that. I didn't achieve the thing that I set out to do, which was to post consistently and to have this content grow as much as possible. Going into this next year, I have a lot of goals and a lot of plans for myself in terms of this podcast, and I literally have to push myself every single week. And now that I'm posting more content on like platforms like TikTok and Instagram, I need to push myself every single week to get to where I want to go for next year. And I'm not gonna lie, I have to push myself very hard, and I have to really just tell myself, like, you said you wanted this, go for it, because you're going to feel guilty if you don't actually get to it, if you don't actually grow out of this feeling that you're at right now of avoiding it all the time and not achieving your goals, and you don't want another year to go by and you're in the exact same spot. If this is the thing that you feel like you want to do it. Stop feeling guilty about the fact that you're wasting time because you keep thinking about your past failures and push through the guilt, push through the embarrassment, push through that emotion that you're feeling, because that is the thing that is blocking you from growing up and from being the person that you're supposed to be. Ooh. Number 2, the second reason why we might feel guilty about growing up and becoming a new version of ourselves is because of other people's negative comments. We feel guilty when we hear other people saying, oh, well, why do you want to do that? Because when you hear that, you feel like you have to validate yourself to other people. You feel like you have to get them to see what you see, and you don't. You really don't. If they don't get it, they're not supposed to. The vision's not for them. The vision is for you. And so you really need to decide for yourself who is the vision for and who are you more worried about? Are you worried about somebody else, or are you worried about yourself achieving the thing that you set out to achieve, the thing that you know you're supposed to achieve? That's one thing. I think the other thing too is that we get nervous. Even if nobody said anything, we get nervous because we feel like somebody's going to compare us to who we previously were. Maybe you're somebody who already made the change and you're still thinking about that. Like, there's going to be somebody who comments on the fact that I used to be one way and now I'm a different way. I'm going to go hide in this little corner because I don't want them to go ahead and call me out for that. Yeah, this used to be me, but this is not me anymore. And that's the thing you need to stand 10 toes on. If somebody makes a comment like that, of like, oh, you never used to go to church and you never used to dress modestly, why all of a sudden you're doing that now? That's weird. That's how I used to be. Yes. And I've grown as a person. I've changed as a person. I've become a new version of myself, and I'm allowed to do that. Regardless of who you knew in the past, that's not me anymore. And it would be a concern if I was still the same person you met 5 years ago. We are all going to evolve and change as people, at least we should. That's the healthy thing. And so if somebody is still holding on to this image of you from 5, 10, 15 years ago, whatever the case may be, and they say something about it, go ahead and let them know respectfully. I've grown as a person. Time has passed. I have changed and evolved, and that is a good thing for me. I'm happy about that. I'm proud of that. I'm blessed to be able to do that, because not everybody gets the time to be able to grow and evolve and to change as a person. I think the last thing is that people don't like change. People don't like that you used to be one way last year and now you're this way this year. They don't like that you didn't have this before and now you have this now. People don't like that. Not all people. There are some people that are very supportive, but for the most part, a lot of people do not like that. And when that is the case, you really need to remind yourself that it's not about them. It's about you, because at the end of the day, the only shoes that you can walk in are your own. And if somebody is going to be upset because you changed, that is a them problem, and they need to figure that out for themselves. That is not your responsibility to correct them, to console them, to reaffirm them that they can change as well, or my change is not as big as you think it is. No. And that's the other thing too. Don't you ever minimize yourself for somebody else because they're upset that you changed as a person. I changed. I grew. I became a different person, and there's nothing wrong with that. If I grew for the better, be happy for me. And if you're not happy for me, that's perfectly fine too. Nobody is obligated to make you feel proud or to make you feel happy for me. I'm happy for me. I'm going to go ahead and continue to evolve and to continue to change. And I hope that for the next 5 years to come, I'm not the same person either, that I'm better. I'm 1% better every day. That's the goal. That's the dream. And if I'm not changing, then there's something wrong with me that I need to go ahead and work on. And if you're not changing, but you're mad at other people for changing and for growing, then there's something with you that you need to work on. And there doesn't have to be any shade. There doesn't have to be any disrespect. There doesn't have to be an altercation. It's just straight facts. Like, I want to do what I want to do with my life. And if I want better and you want to stay the same, then so be it. Nobody is shading you for that. But I feel like when people start having those comments and when people start having stuff to say about the fact that you want better for your life, it's because they want better too, but they're not willing to stand out and go ahead and do the thing. They're not willing to look awkward. They're not willing to make mistakes. They're not willing to go ahead and sacrifice their time. They're not willing to stand 10 toes on the fact that this is what they want to do, and that's fine. That's their life. Nobody's telling you to control them, just like they're not controlling you. When people start saying those things, they start making those comments to try to make you feel bad, it's because they feel bad about themselves, because they don't feel secure enough in themselves to go ahead and stand up for themselves or to take a risk and to step out on faith and to try the thing for themselves. My piece of advice to you for that is, when somebody comes up to you and they have something to say about the fact that you changed as a person, just tell them, if you are unhappy with the fact that you have not changed, you did not grow, you have not evolved as a person, that is on you. That is not on me. And that's it. There doesn't have to be anything else to it. Okay, The last reason we may feel guilty about wanting more, or we may feel nervous about stepping out and trying to get more than what we currently have, is because of our own self-doubt. We may not feel qualified to do the thing that we want to do. For example, if you want to buy a house and your credit is not the best, you may feel like you're unqualified to buy a home, and so you'll never buy a home, and I'm just going to stay right here. And I feel guilty about the fact that I'm never going to be ready to buy a home because right now my credit isn't the best. Nobody said that you can never fix your credit. Nobody can never say that you won't become qualified. There are some things that you're going to have to do along the way to become qualified to buy a home, to buy the home that you want to buy. Let's say you want to become a lawyer. Let's say you want to become a lawyer, but you struggle with dyslexia, I don't know, and you feel like you're unqualified because there's so much reading and you struggle with dyslexia. There are going to be some things that you need to do to help you so that you can feel qualified, because if you have dyslexia, that doesn't disqualify you. All it is it's a challenge that you need to adapt to and find the thing that works best for you so that you can feel qualified enough to walk through and to take the LSAT and to go to law school and to become a lawyer. And same thing with buying a home. Just because you have a low credit score doesn't mean that you're completely automatically disqualified. You just have to take the steps that you need to become qualified to buy the type of home that you want to buy. If you want to become a content creator, but you don't feel qualified because you're not a professional anything, and what do you feel like you have to talk about? You talk about your life experiences. You talk about the things that you've been through. Nobody tells a story the way that you tell a story. And that's something that I have to been telling myself too, is just like, there's nobody that's ever going to be able to tell their story in the way that I tell it. I'm not going to tell my story in the way that somebody else tells it, and so on and so forth. And so I'm not disqualified because I'm not a professional anything, or because I don't major in it, whatever the case may be. I'm not disqualified from anything, but there are certain things that I need to do to put myself in place to feel qualified on my end. I need to learn how to edit. I need to learn how to post this and how to optimize that, and whatever the case may be to be successful if I want to be a full-time content creator. When we have this self-doubt and we feel like, well, I'm not qualified enough to do this, that, and the third, we start to feel guilty and we start to hide because, why am I not qualified enough to do this? And I feel bad about the fact that I want to be here, but I'm here right now and I'm not qualified enough, and I'm not in the position that I should have been at 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. And that's the other thing too. It didn't happen in that time frame for a reason, whether it was because you were in the way or other things got in the way. That's not how it was supposed to work out, and you need to be grateful for that and just say, okay, I wasn't able to buy the home 4 years ago when it probably would have been the best time to buy because my credit wasn't the best, but in the next 4 years, are you going to put yourself in a position to be able to buy the home that you want to buy? That's the question here. With all of these things, they will hold us back and they will keep us feeling guilty about the fact that we want to grow up, but this is where we are right now. But every step of the way, every phase in this process is important to be able to get you from here to here. If you aren't here, how are you possibly going to get over here in the first place? The path goes along. You need to be able to go from here to here to here and then to the next phase. And so don't feel guilty about the fact that you want more. Don't let any of the things that I listed, even some things that I didn't list, keep you from feeling like you cannot get to the life that you want to have. You cannot be the person that you want to be, because you can. There are some things that we're going to have to work through to get there. But that's part of the journey. We don't just automatically be born perfect to fulfill our purpose, and we don't come across any struggles or any doubts or whatever the case may be. No, I don't know anybody, anyways, that has not ever once doubted themselves in whatever it is that they want to achieve. Even if they feel 110% sure of the fact that this is the thing that I'm supposed to achieve, that doesn't mean that it doesn't come with some sort of doubt. It may be something small, or maybe just a small step along the way where they feel doubt right in this moment, but they still feel secure in the end goal. And I think you need to ask yourself that. Do you feel secure in your end goal? Do you feel secure in the fact that you want to buy a house you're just worried about right now? Because if that's the case, baby, we're not staying here forever. If you don't feel secure in your end goal at all, if you don't even think that that's for you, then that's something different. And you really need to ask yourself, like, is that end goal supposed to be for me? But if you're just worried about right now it's not going to last forever unless you allow it to last forever. If you don't change, that's another thing that you need to think about. If it's just right now doesn't last forever. All right, so let's talk about it. What does growing up guilt look like? I have a list of a couple of things, and the first thing is self-sabotage. If you are unfamiliar with self-sabotage, you've probably experienced it in your life. But essentially what it is that you have an opportunity that you are ready for, that you're qualified for, but you don't feel that way, and so you try to ruin it. Some people do this with relationships. If they feel like they found the partner for them, but it's just too good to be true, they might break up with them, or they might cheat on them. Or if they feel like they got a job they feel unqualified for, they might just turn it down or try to make an excuse to not accept the role because they're not ready for it. But essentially what it is that you get in your own way and you ruin any opportunity that's good for you. The next thing is that you deliberately delay. And I have done this so many times. What I mean by that is that you're doing a lot of planning and you're getting ready for the thing, but you never execute for the thing. So if you're a content creator, you spend all this time planning and jotting down ideas and doing this, that, and the third, but you never press record. Or you record all of these videos, you record all of this content, but you never edit it and put it out, not knowing what that could mean for you. Same thing, let's say you wanted to go to law school. Let's go back to that example. You spend all this time studying for the LSAT and you never take it. You never take it. You want to buy a home and you're saving all of this money, but you're so afraid to even go to an open house. Deliberate delay. You're just putting it off and putting it off until you feel ready. And there are a lot of things in this lifetime that you're never going to feel 110% ready for. That's just how it is. And sometimes you're going to have to step out on faith and take that risk and just say, even though I don't feel 110% ready, I don't feel 110% qualified, I'm going to go ahead and do the thing because I've prepared for this long enough and I'm ready. I want it. I keep thinking about it all the time. I keep thinking about what my life would be like if this. I keep thinking about what my life would look like if I became this. Do it then. Stop delaying. And I'm really coming for myself right now too. Like we all do this and there's no shame in that. That's part of growing. That's part of becoming a different person. It's like being who you want to be is going to come at a cost, and the cost is who you currently are and who you once were. And if you're not ready to sacrifice that, if you're not ready to become a completely different person and to start, if you don't want to do that, you're never going to see who you want to become, who you're going to be. What do you do now? That's never going to happen for you if you don't sacrifice who you once were and who you currently are right now. Ooh. The next thing, constantly apologizing when people are offended by your elevation. I don't think I've ever been in that position because I'm at a point now where it's just like, I'm more so like, I just don't talk about it. I'll just avoid it. I don't really like attention. And I think that's also guilt of growing up / a little bit of imposter syndrome. But when you're constantly apologizing for the fact that you've changed, that you've become a new person, that you do this, that, and the third, and you do not do X, Y, and Z anymore, that is for other people. That's not for you. You're not trying to validate yourself and your feelings. If you became that new person, if you started doing new things, that's because you wanted to. You felt secure in that. That has nothing to do with them. The apologizing is for them because you want to validate their feelings and make them feel good about the fact that they're making you feel bad. And you shouldn't do that. Stop doing that. Stop validating their feelings for that. People's feelings are valid unless those feelings are specifically targeted to make you feel like garbage. Then their feelings are not valid because that has nothing to do with you. That has everything to do with them. Those projected feelings onto you are not your responsibility. Stop apologizing to them to make them feel better. It has nothing to do with you. Next thing, hiding your achievements or avoiding attention when celebrated. Now, this is me. If you are somebody who, let's say you're the first person in your family to graduate from college and people talk about that a lot around you, you might just be like, okay, like, yeah, I did that. And that's kind of it. Like that is literally me. I don't like the attention, and a part of it is just like I'm very introverted and I kind of just like to mind my business and go about my day, but also it's feeling guilty. It's feeling guilty about the fact that I had to leave some people in the dust to do the thing that I wanted to do. And a part of me doesn't feel bad about that. A part of me doesn't feel bad about that at all. I did the right thing and I made the right choice for myself. But there's this small little voice in the back of my head that's just whispering, you left people behind. You think that you're better than them. And that little voice, like we be going at it every day and I really be having to stomp her out because it's just like, you're not going to make me feel bad about the fact that I did the thing that I wanted to do, that I grew up and that I evolved. And that has nothing to do with other people. I never once said, and this is you too, you've never once said that you're better than so-and-so because you've achieved X, Y, and Z, or because you are now this person and you're no longer that person. You've never put that out there, but I'm willing to bet that other people have put that on you. I'm willing to bet that that's the case. And now they planted this seed in your brain of, oh, you think that you're better than so-and-so. You think that you're better than us because of this, that, and the third. And now your brain is like, yeah, let's run with that. Oh, you think that you're better than them. And that's why this, that, and the third. And it's going to feed off of that. You got to stop letting people plant seeds in your mind, especially seeds of negativity. It's one thing if it's a positive seed, welcome that with open arms. But if it's a negative seed, or even if you feel uncertain about it, go ahead and just assume that it's negative, unless you're convinced otherwise. But stop letting people plant those negative seeds, because at the end of the day, all they did was plant the seed. Now you're in charge of watering it and letting it grow. And sometimes you don't even realize that you're watering that seed, that you are letting it flourish in your mind, because all they did was plant the seed and walk away. And little do you know, depending on where you are in your mental health journey and your stability and your confidence in yourself, you may have the perfect soil for that seed to flourish. And then you have to do all this extra work to unplant the plant and to get rid of the weeds and the roots to make sure that it never grows again. That's a lot of work for you. So just avoiding that negativity in general saves you a lot of time and a lot of heartache. And it saves you that internal battle of feeling like, oh, I have to deal with the seed that so-and-so planted in my brain. It's not your job. Dead the seed, for real. Last one hits hard. Constantly seeking validation, especially from the people who are bothered by your level up. It just happens. It just happens, right? Like when you feel like you've had to overcompensate for the fact that you've changed, or that you become a new person, that you grew as a person. When you feel like you have to overcompensate for that, you're looking for validation. And it might be validation of like, yeah, you did the right thing. You did what you're supposed to do. You grew as a new person, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or it might be validation of, yeah, you shouldn't have did that. It was the wrong thing. You're looking for validation to feed the negativity that was planted in your mind. Those are one of two things that you might experience in terms of looking for validation. Or it might also be that with the people that you are experiencing these negative comments from, you're just looking to see if they still care about you, if they still love and appreciate you, because even though you quote unquote went against them, do they still care about you as much as you care about them? Because if you feel guilty, you feel this heavy burden of leaving them behind when it's not your responsibility. We're all adults here. And if we're not adults, we're pretty close to the age of being an adult. Everybody's responsible for their own path and their own journey. There are certain things that we cannot control. We cannot control our upbringing. We cannot control who our parents are. There are a lot of things that we cannot control. But in the same sense, there are a lot of things that we can control. And if somebody is not controlling what their outcome is moving forward, that's on them. They made that choice just as much as it is a choice for you to move on, to grow as a person, to elevate. It is just as much as a choice for them to stay exactly where they are. And they make that choice. And I'm willing to bet that just as much as your choice to grow as a new person is constantly in your mind, their choice to stay where they're at is also constantly in their mind. And it makes them feel one of two ways. One, validated in the fact that they chose to stay right here, or two, ashamed of the fact that they chose to stay right here, but they're not ready to take the risk and they're not ready to step out on faith, and so they feel bad for themselves. And if you are that person, I would challenge you to really be self-aware and try something new, because being the hater, being the negative person, being that negative energy, it's not helping you. I'm willing to bet my life's salary for the rest of my life that you spewing this negativity doesn't make you feel better. It might make you feel better for the moment, but it doesn't eliminate how you feel about yourself. I'm willing to put that type of money on it. I stand on that. Like, nobody who is spewing out that type of negativity feels better after that. And if they do, then there's just something wrong with them. We all have a subconscious. We all have the Holy Spirit within us, whether you believe that or not. That voice in your head that's telling you, like, you shouldn't do that. You're only doing that because you feel this way. Everybody has that voice. Everybody feels that. Everybody has it. For the people that don't have it, I'm scared of them. I'm willing to bet that 99.9% of people on this planet have that voice and know when they're being negative towards somebody, it's solely a deflection from who they are and where they're at right now. All right, let's talk about how you can overcome growing up guilt. And I'm not going to lie to you, it is very hard and it is a consistent journey. You cannot just do one thing and assume that it's done. There's no magic pill, no magic potion, no nothing. You are going to constantly have to work at it until you feel secure and confident enough in yourself to not let these negative seeds grow in your spirit and grow in your mind. But if you are not there yet, and that is perfectly okay. There is nothing wrong with that. There are some things that you can do to strengthen that muscle. And the first thing is definitely going to be my personal favorite. You know, I always come for this. The free option, shadow work. I think that that's the best thing that you can do, is just to sit down and journal your feelings and really just be open and honest and vulnerable with yourself. The thing about shadow work that's different from therapy is that you don't ever have to talk to anybody if you don't want to. And sometimes, even if it's a mental health professional, we just don't feel comfortable saying certain things out loud in a room with another person in them. But we're going to be more willing and more open to write things down in something that we know nobody else is ever going to see if we don't want it to be seen. We can easily burn it when we're done. We can easily shred it, flush it down the toilet, whatever we want to do. But once those words are spoken out into the earth, you can't take that back. And I feel like a lot of people avoid therapy or avoid talking through certain things, because once it's out there, you cannot get it back. You can't just avoid it. You can't let it go. You can't flush it down the toilet or burn it. Here are some shadow work prompts that I have for you that will help you think about how you're going to get rid of this growing up guilt. And the first one that I have is, what fears do you have about pursuing your dream life? Next one, are there people or past experiences that have made you feel bad for wanting a better life? How did that experience or person make you feel? Be honest. Be honest. If they made you feel like complete garbage, say it. Be honest with yourself. The next thing, if you are currently holding yourself back for others, how does that make you feel? Last one. I've mentioned this a couple of times on the podcast before, and it might have been in different phrasing, but the message is still the same. Imagine the life that you're looking to achieve. Write it down in detail. From the car that you're driving, the partner that you have, the education that you received, if that's something that you're looking for, your spiritual health, everything. Every single thing. I want you to tell me, I'm driving a black Hyundai Palisade 2027. It has black rims and I'm pulling up to my da-da-da-da-da in this state and everything. Write it all down. Now, I want you to write how achieving this would make you feel. Reflect on the entire response once you've done so. And I'm going to go ahead and add, write down how it would make you feel if you never achieved these goals. I think writing down how you would feel if you never achieved these goals is going to hit different, because I think that we don't allow ourselves to think that this could never be the case. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. I think we try to bank on it a lot more than we should. How are you going to feel if you reach your deathbed? God forbid that it's anytime soon. You reach your deathbed and you never got to achieve the things that you wanted to. How is that going to make you feel? Next thing that you can do to get rid of some of this growing up guilt is to evaluate some relationships. This goes back to the episode that I did a couple of weeks ago about not everything is for everybody. You need to evaluate who you're telling your goals and your dreams to and what their responses are. And if you're getting a lot of negative responses from some people that you thought would be supportive, it's time to evaluate whether that friendship needs to stay or go. If somebody is constantly tearing you down, constantly trying to get you to look at it from a different lens, or being devil's advocate, or if, this bothers my soul, if they're making jokes, quote unquote jokes about your failure or about you not achieving that thing, let them go. If somebody's gonna hide behind a joke instead of just come out and stand 10 toes on the insult that they're trying to say, they need to be the first person to go. I'm so sorry. I'm letting them go before the person who directly is just coming for my goal, because that person that is going to hide behind a joke is the most dangerous person to have around, because, oh no, I'm just kidding. I was just joking. Of course you're going to become a content creator. I never said that you weren't going to ever become one. Nah. They need to go. Those are the most dangerous people to have around, because they will sneakily throw that in there. They're planting a seed. They're trying every single way that they can to get that seed planted into your mind as much as possible, and then hiding behind the fact that I just want you to see it from a different lens. I'm just trying to protect you. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Oh, I'm just joking. I can't stand a person that's just like, I'm just joking. Just say it then. Say it then. Clearly, I'm like low-key triggered, but to calm myself down and to get back to the point, anybody who is doing something like that needs to go, because they're going to try and slowly chip away at the person you're trying to become until there's nothing left. And you do not need a leech like that in your life to delay you any further than where you currently are right now. Next thing is therapy. Therapy is not as widely accessible to everyone, which is why I love to put shadow work first. But if you have health insurance and if you have good benefits and you can afford a therapist, I would highly recommend talking to a therapist that is in alignment with you about why you feel so guilty in terms of wanting better for yourself and why you have this inherent need to please others, because it's really not your responsibility. It is not your job to be catering to anybody. Unless you have a baby, you shouldn't be catering to anybody else about anything. I would highly recommend talking that through with a mental health professional. I'm not a mental health professional in any way, shape, or form. I will never claim to be a mental health professional. I give a lot of props to mental health professionals. I'm just somebody who's experienced these things and is going to keep it real with you. And the last thing that I think is just as important as all of these other things is prayer. If you are somebody who is religious or spiritual of some kind, if you believe in prayer, over here we believe in Jesus Christ. If you are somebody who believes in prayer, I would highly recommend you sit down and pray about it. And I have 2 stories for you to read, because I'm not somebody who is very familiar with scripture, and I can't just spit out a Bible verse and say, oh, read this story. I'm not familiar with that. So I use an app called Haven. It is a paid app. I pay about $7 a month. No, sorry, $7 a week to use it. And it's honestly worth the money for me. It is like ChatGPT, but faith-based. And so you can literally ask it anything. How can I grow in my faith? How can I find the strength to leave people behind who are not serving me? Whatever you want to ask it. And then it spits out a response that is faith-based. And it goes beyond just like ChatGPT and where it just gives you the answer and it's like that's it. It really asks you thought-provoking questions of, well, what is making you feel this way? Why are you so invested in this story? And it really gets you to just think beyond the surface and just say like, here, dang. It really makes you think about it some more. And so I went on the Haven app and I asked it, what are some stories that I can use for when I feel guilty or unqualified for achieving my goals? And it gave me a couple of scriptures. The first thing it told me was, remember Jeremiah 21:11, and it says, he desires to prosper you, not to harm you. And it's referring to the Lord, it's referring to Jesus Christ, that he has plans to prosper you. He doesn't have any plans to harm you. So if you are feeling guilty about the fact that you are not ready to move into the person that you're supposed to be, or if you feel unqualified, he has plans to make you better. The reason that you see that version of yourself, or the reason you see yourself accomplishing this goal, is because that may be some things are just yours, but that may be part of his plan. And if that is the case, just know that it's on the way. You can't let other people who are planting these negativity seeds block you. And then 2 stories for you. The first one is the story of Joseph in Genesis. I forgot to write down what the story was about, so let me just look it up real quick. I already did this story. Okay, so if you listen to my Not Everything is for Everybody episode, I talked about this story. So this is the story of Joseph, the brother who was most hated by his brothers for being so loved by the father, and he had a special gift. I don't want to give it all away because I really want to encourage people to read it. It was such a good story. But if you're interested in looking up the story, even if you're not Christian, I still think that the story applies. It was Genesis chapters 37 all the way to 50. It is a pretty lengthy story, but it was so good. It was so worth all of the reading that I did with and without my Bible study group. And it just really teaches you that even though you may feel guilty or other people may cast doubt or negativity upon you or literally try to harm you or actually harm you in this case, at the end of the day, whatever God has planned for you, whatever person he has planned for you, that is going to prosper above anything and everything else. If you are committed to that, if you are obedient to God, if you are willing to be a part of the plan that he has set for you, that'll happen for you regardless of what other people are doing. You just have to put in the work. Okay, the second story is the book of Nehemiah, specifically chapters 1 and 2. The Haven app gave me a better summary, and I don't have it here, so I'm just relying off of Google. And the summary says, the book of Nehemiah in the Bible tells the story of how Nehemiah and the people built the walls of Jerusalem again. The people who lived near Jerusalem did not want the Jews to build the city again. They opposed the Jews and tried to stop the work, but God helped them, and they finished the work in 52 days. And so again, same thing. The Haven app summarized it better and put it into the category of feeling guilty. But even if you don't feel qualified, or if you feel like there are a lot of people that are in your way in terms of you growing up and becoming the person that you're supposed to be, God always has a plan for you. And despite all of these people who do not want that to happen for you, they don't want your plans to prosper, they don't want you to achieve the thing that you want to, and they will literally get in your way. It doesn't matter. If you are obedient to God, if you have a good relationship with God, if you are doing the things that he is telling you to do, it will happen for you. It will happen a lot sooner than you think, as long as you stay committed to the goals that he has set for you, as long as you stay committed to the plan that he has you on and the things that he's telling you to do. All right, we have reached the point where we are at the affirmation for the week. And so the affirmation for this week's episode is, I am capable of living my dream life without limitations. I'm going to go ahead and say that 3 times. If you have the ability to close your eyes, close your eyes. However you want to speak this positivity onto your life, whether that's writing it down, putting it in your notes app, speaking to yourself in the mirror, find a way to do it. And so, I am capable of living my dream life without limitations. I am capable of living my dream life without limitations. I am capable of living my dream life without limitations. All right, that is all I have for you this week. Let me know what your thoughts are for this episode. And if you are somebody who is struggling with growing up guilt, just know that I am here for you, whatever it is. If you feel comfortable enough to reach out, whether that's through the comments on YouTube or through the DMs on Instagram or TikTok, if you're going through something, I'm happy to talk it out with you, but just know that at the end of the day, the guilt is not from you. The guilt is from other people inflicting it upon you. And you are supposed to become that person that you set yourself out to be. You are supposed to achieve those things in life as long as you have God by your side. If you believe in that, as long as you are following the plan that your life has for you and the purpose that you feel so called to do, those things are going to happen regardless of who is planting negativity seeds in your mind. And so I really give my love out to you, anybody who is struggling with growing up guilt, because it is hard. It is very hard because you see the life that you want to have in the distance and you want it so badly, but you feel guilty and you feel unprepared. I am really praying for you. I am putting all my love into you, and I hope that you will be able to implement some of these things to be able to let go of that growing up guilt and to fully pursue the life that is for you. And so let me know what your thoughts are on this week's episode. You can follow us on Instagram or TikTok, both at the HSL Pod, or you can follow us on YouTube. That's at the Hood Soft Life Podcast. And we are on all audio platforms at the Hood Soft Life Podcast. Until then, I'm going to catch you on the next one. Bye.